Hi, and welcome back to San Francisco. I'm Captain David with Spinnaker Sailing, and today we're going to cover the 7 basic knots that you'll need to know for your ASA 101 Basic Keelboat Sailing course. So there are several ways to tie this knot, but I'm going to show you a method that's really simple and easy to repeat. So let's take a look at these knots. The first 4 knots we're going to cover all start at the same starting position. That's going to be the bowline, the figure 8, the sheep bend, and the barrel stopper knot. The barrel stopper knot's not on your test, but it's a nice knot to know. So let's go to our basic starting position for these 4 knots. So for this basic starting position, we're going to assume that you are right-handed. And we're going to hold the line with our left hand and do all the work with our right. Now, as you can see, I have a short run right here. The rest of the line, I don't care about. I just want what I'm working with over my left hand, and if I use my forefinger, I can hold a little section up. And the first thing we're going to do is create a hole for the bowline. A lot of people use the term a rabbit hole, but one of our sailors here likes to do it a little differently. So I'm going to go through the rabbit first and then our different terminology for it. To create that hole to start your bowline, if you look at my thumb and forefinger down below, if I roll this, not lift, I just roll and lift, that creates my hole. Now, this end is called the bitter end. This is going to be our rabbit. We're going to take that rabbit and come out of the hole. We're going to go around the tree, and we're going to bring it back into the hole. Now, this is a key part. That rabbit wants to go back to itself. Pull the slack through gently, and then hold it to itself, and pull the standing end. There's your bowline. So let's do the bowline one more time, but we're going to change the terminology that meets the respect of one of our other sailors. We're not going to use the term rabbit. So let's take a look at it. I'm going to start in the same starting position, and I'm going to roll and lift. That hole is now the hatch, not the rabbit hole. Our bitter end is now the sailor. He comes out of the hatch, runs around the mast, back into the boat, through the hatch, but we're still holding these two together and tightening. Great, so now let's move on to the second knot of the 4 that all begin in the same starting position. All right, so we've already done the bowline. Now we're going to do the figure 8. So come on in. Same starting position. I'm holding a little bit up with my forefinger. Now, instead of creating a hole, I'm just going to grab the bitter end and cross. Now, with the bitter end, just like the bowline, I'm going to go around the tree, and then I'm going to drop it into this hole. Around the tree, through the hole, and pull. And there's our figure 8. Now, one thing with the figure 8, if you're using it as a stopper knot, you want to make sure you create a longer tail than this. That way, if it does get jammed, you have something to grab to pull it and release the tension. So let's move on to our third knot. So now we're going to do another stopper knot. Yes, the figure 8 is a good stopper knot, but it's not my favorite. One of my favorites is the barrel knot. So let me show you that, and we're going to go back to the same starting position. Sorry about that. So this is going to be just like, or very similar to the bowline. I'm going to roll and make a rabbit hole or hatch, and now I'm going to make another one right on top of it. Now I'm just going to pinch those two together, take the bitter end, go around the back, pull it through, tighten it up. You have a good tail and a nice knot. Sure, if you put enough tension on it, you can loosen it. But for the most part, I really like this as a stopper knot. So the final knot that we can tie from the same starting position is called the sheep bend. A sheep bend is used to join together 2 lines of a different diameter. Now, if you look at some other videos, you're going to see it tied a completely different way. But I'm going to show you a simple way, again, from the same starting position. And we're going to start with the thinner line of the 2. So for tying this line, remember that the rabbit, or the sailor, is the thicker line. So let's go ahead and start this sheet bend. So with this thinner line, I am going to make my rabbit hole or my hatch. With the thicker line is either going to be the sailor or the rabbit. So they come out of the hole of the hatch, goes around the tree, back into the hole to itself, grip them together and the other standing end and pull. That is a sheet bend. It's used for tying two lines of a different diameter. But now let me show you a more sturdy sheet bend. If this is being used, which is commonly used for towing a boat, if slack in tension varies, it can work its way loose. It's possible. So let's make a more sturdy sheet bend. So let's do that. Same principle, the thicker line is always the rabbit. So this is called a double sheet bend. You don't need to know it for the test, but it's great to know. Make a rabbit hole and then make another one right on top of it. Take the thicker line, come through the hole, around the tree, back through the hole, hold the lines together and that line and pull, and now you have a much more sturdy sheet bend. So I've showed you a simple way to tie the bowline. Now let's actually use it. Before we attach it to anything or even start that process, go to that simple first step of making your hatch or rabbit hole. Now that we have that, it's going to be very simple to attach it to anything. The way that we use it in the ASA class is one, to attach the jib halyard to the jib, and also to attach the jib sheets to the clew of the jib. So we're going to start with the jib halyard. So here we have the rabbit hole. Now we're going to attach this to the head of the jib sail. I do not have it hanked on. This is just for teaching purposes here, but watch how I do it. Remember, I already have the rabbit hole right here. So here's the head of the jib. I'm just going to pass the bitter end through there and then tie my bowline. There we go. Very simple, no confusion. Great, so we've attached the bowline to the head of the jib. The other place that you'll use a bowline would be for your jib sheets, and they get attached to the clew of the jib. Again, I'm just going to start with my rabbit hole. Here's the clew right here. Bitter end goes through the clew. Then the bitter end goes through the hole around the tree. Bring that in, pinch them together, pull, tighten. There you go. Great, so now we have the jib sheet attached to the clew of the jib. In order to prevent that line from shooting through the blocks, we're going to add a stopper knot. And we're going to do it the same procedure when I was showing you the 4 basic knots. I do want to make sure I have enough of a tail though. So I'm going to start a little further down, hold it right here. We're going to make a figure 8, which just crosses over. Here I am holding the tree up, around the tree, back into the hole, pull, a little bit of a tail there. There's our figure 8. But remember, we can also do the barrel knot. Same starting procedure. Hold that tree up. 1 rabbit hole, 2 rabbit holes, bitter end around the back. There's our stopper knot. That way, if it gets pulled, it'll jam right there, and we have enough tail that we can take tension off of it. So the next 2 knots you're going to need to know for your ASA 101 are 2 securing knots, the clove hitch and the round turn with 2 half hitches. But we're going to start with the clove hitch and attaching the fender to the boat. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to use my left hand to hang on to the fender and do all the work with my right hand. I want this at a height that's not in the water and not too high above the dock. The first thing I'm going to do for a clove hitch is make one round turn. And I can steady that with my left hand. It's pinching it together. Now, on the next turn, it's going to go under everything. It goes under my first wrap. It goes underneath the line that's supporting the fender. And you can see slack right there. Now I'm just going to take the bitter end, bring that up and through, and there's my clove hitch. Let's go through it one more time. One round turn, under everything, and up through my slack. Clove hitch. And the nice thing about a clove hitch is that it's easy to remove, hence being called a temporary secure knot. So let's go ahead and remove the clove hitch, and then we're going to do a round turn with 2 half hitches, which is a more permanently secured hitch. So just by pinching right here, you can see how quickly that loosens up. And now the knot is off. So let's do the round turn with 2 half hitches. Still going to support it with my left hand. Going to make a turn. And now I have these lines running parallel to each other. So with the tail, I want to cross it and come up through and pull. Make it parallel again. Cross, come up and through. And there's my round turn and 2 half hitches, and it's harder to dislodge. So the next knot we're going to do is the square knot. Now we most commonly use the square knot for our reef ties. Now we're not going to go over reefing right now, but I am going to show you the knot because you do need to know it for your test. It's very simple, and it's used for joining 2 ends of the same line or 2 ends of different lines but of the same diameter. If you remember, the sheep bend is for joining 2 lines of different diameter. It's the same diameter. Easy way to remember this is right over left, left over right. So let's see how I do it. So here's my 2 lines, same diameter. Right over left, and then tuck with your right, just like tying your shoe. Then left over right, tuck, pull together, and that's a square knot. Let me show you what it looks like when it's done wrong. Oh, look at that. It's all twisty. Now over time you won't have to say right over left, left over right, but for now, right over left and tuck, left over right and tuck, and pull together. There's your square knot. So the last knot we're going to show you is the cleat hitch. We're going to do it on the dock first, and then also how the cleat hitch is used on board the boat. Now in a later video, we're also going to go over line handling, but for right now, we're just going to go over the hitch itself. So here we are, the boat has just come into dock. We're using the furthest cleat and the furthest horn right there. Now we're going to bring the line to this horn, and you can see that's created a U or a C, depending how you want to look at it. And now we're just going to cross. When we cross, we come under the first horn and cross again. Now all we have to do is finish our hitch. If you're right-handed, grab the line with your left hand. With your right hand, tuck under your left hand, make a loop. You can see how these lines are parallel. Just pull through, and your hitch is done. No need for multiple wraps. So on the Andrews 21, we have this lovely main halyard that is down below. And when that sail is raised and there's tension on this, we need to put a cleat hitch right here. If you're right-handed, start on the right-hand side. There's your C, sort of, but remember it's being pulled through here. Cross, just like on the dock. Come underneath and cross again. And same procedure, left hand, spin with your right. You can see how those lines line up and pull. Now, if you're looking at this left-handed, it's not that hard. Instead of going to the right side of the cleat, go to the left side. This is ensuring that when we cleat this off, it's on the top instead of trying to cleat it on the bottom. So that's the cleat hitch being used to secure the main halyard after the sail has gone up. Let's take a look at another spot of the boat where we use a cleat hitch. Well, we're not going to go over reefing right now. We'll have that in a later video. I am going to show you with the reefing lines, once they're pulled in as tight as they need to be, how we secure them. And we secure it with a cleat hitch. So right here, and here's a reefing line. We actually have two of them. So if we're pulling these reefing lines tight, I'll use the blue one for now, and it's right where it needs to be. Now is the time for a cleat hitch. There you can see it's exactly the same as on the dock. But like I said, we'll go into reefing later on. I just want you to see why it's important to understand the cleat hitch. We use it at the dock, we use it at the mast, and we use it for reefing. So while we are already here at the mainsail, I want to show you sail ties. While it's not on your test, it is something that you're going to do every day. This is a sail tie right here, and it's holding the sail together with what we call a slip knot. Here's a tail. If I pull on that, it's an easy release. So let's just go ahead and take this off. So now if we had just come in and we flaked the sail, we're doing what we call putting the boat to bed. I'm going to take this sail tie, and you can see it has a loop on one end and just a squared off back. I'm going to take that loop, I'm going to put it underneath the sail away from me. Bring that loop up, and I'm going to put the tail right through there. As I pull forward, it's going to cinch it. If I pull too hard, the whole thing's going to come down here. But that's all right. I can reposition it just by pulling it up and continuing to cinch it and keep everything on the top. Now the next thing is, with my left and right hand, making a nice long loop. I do not care about the tail. With this loop, you can see my fingers are creating a space between the two. I'm going to take this loop and go right across, and it makes the number 4. Now if I tuck underneath this piece here and bring it through the hole that I've created and pull away from me, it's tied it. That's all it takes to do a sail tie. Well, thanks for joining us at Spinnaker Sailing San Francisco. I hope this was helpful for your ASA 101 course. And we'll see you shortly with some more videos. Thanks for watching. All right, it's show-off time. We got the president, the owner, Drew Harper here, and he's going to show you a nifty little knot, nifty little way to cleat this on.
I'm going to show you how to throw a cleat hitch. So you just throw it on, and then you just have to put a little turn to it. Then it'll wrap right around the horn, and you're ready to go. Do the flying bowline. Grab the working end of the line in your left hand, the bitter end in your right hand, and you're throwing the bitter end around and through itself. Right hand goes through left hand, voila.